Good morning. I'm Higher Vibrations and so are you. And here are the Ascension Symptoms for November 19th, 2021. Stick around for the end. I usually get some kind of channeled message that comes through at that time if you're interested. So, a lot of us have been experiencing a cycling back to a lot of the symptoms that we had been experiencing earlier on, and it's really an awesome experience if you really think about it. As everything that we go through, there, you never really finish anything. It's just a movement, a flow of the energy to another level of it. And one of the things that I've been experiencing for a while, and then I've started to hear a lot more of, is how people's diets are just strangely changing and altering over the past couple of days, really. And I've also been experiencing that. I've been going through, and this is very typical, unplanned diets, or not diets, excuse me. Holy crap, what is the word? Fasting. Unplanned fasting, where we're just all of a sudden just, I don't know, just don't have an appetite, and noticing the foods that you normally enjoy or maybe your go-to things aren't really all that appetizing any longer. Finding yourself kind of adopting or moving into a new way of eating. And this is awesome. Like, for me, it looked like I was carnivore full on, you pick your protein before you decide what you're going to cook, kind of a person to, I don't eat any meat now. And, we're very, very almost vegan in that way. And it's just been a slow process of me listening to my body, and those things keep changing. Listen to yourself, acknowledge your body as it's giving you these messages. It's just communicating with you. And since we haven't really, at least I haven't spent much of my life up to the past few years actually listening to my body, there's a lot to be heard and understood. And I'm learning a new language, basically, right? And also, with our bodies, I had spent a lot of years not just ignoring those signs completely, when there were certain things that I was accustomed to, and I would begin to engage in using that food, eating that food or whatever, and my body would obviously want to get rid of it and not want it. Instead of listening to my body, I would power through it, and my body will get used to it again, kind of a thing. And just putting my body through the ringer for a long time. And then I learned to start to listen to and maybe look at my body as a small child that had no trust for me. Up to that point, I really wasn't taking care of myself, and I'm building a trusting relationship with this body that I'm in. So anyway, it takes time. You will catch on to your cues. I am having the hardest time speaking right now. This isn't typically me, so maybe that's a symptom. I don't know. I have been hearing a lot of people talking about communication barriers kind of stuff lately too. One of my closest friends has found for quite a while having difficulty finding words, and just vocabulary efficiency has been diminished, to all of a sudden being able to feel so articulate and fluid in her communication skills, and so, maybe that's what I'm going through right now as well. I have been noticing that for a couple of days, though. I'm struggling with that. So bear with me, please. And then, we have the ringing in the ear stuff that's not stopped. And, that really was my first ascension symptom that I understood as such. And I find that kind of beautiful in some ways, that's still a thing. And it's also one of the main symptoms that brings people in, as well as the dizziness. The spells of dizziness that feel different ways to different people, last different lengths of time. It's all going to be a little bit different. But for the most part, there's a consistency there. The sleeplessness is what I was trying to say before, is something else that's really been a prominent thing throughout this, right? Our sleep has been interfered with in so many different ways. In some moments, we're profoundly exhausted and finding ourselves needing more and more rest. And there's other situations where, you're profoundly exhausted, but your body has no desire to rest. Or perhaps your mind is just way too busy upgrading and downloading information to actually get any rest. And kind of, but then also the sleep stuff, the dream stuff that we're experiencing. Our dreams have been changing for quite a while, to be honest, but it's doing it again now, where dreams have become a completely different experience for so many of us. And some people, their dreams are becoming more vivid and easier to recall. Other people who have been able to remember their dreams in very detailed ways for most of their life are finding they don't have a memory of dream. And that's okay. That doesn't mean you're not dreaming. You're simply not recalling that information in your, I don't know what to call it. I want to say ego mind, but we are retaining that information as it comes through. As most of us know, the sleep space, the dream time space, is not the physical experience that we interact with on a day-to-day basis. It's a whole different dimensional frequency. A lot of people look at that as the bridge, the space between 3D and 5D. And in that experience, we often interact in spirit in some form and are working, doing things. And so often we find ourselves waking up in the morning after having perhaps seemed to have gotten a good solid 6 to 8 hours of sleep, but feel even more exhausted than we did when we started. And I don't know about you, but for me, in those experiences, usually I'm very aware that there's been quite a bit of work done in a spiritual or an energetic way while I was quote unquote sleeping. And so maybe you resonate with that also. The water intake has definitely increased for me anyway. Again, it fluctuates, but the main message of that is we do need water. We need extra water right now. And it really does assist us in a lot of ways. That's always been a solution in regard to a lot of different health things. But now we're finding also in this spiritual thing, as we upgrade our DNA into a new space, a new frequency range, which is freaking awesome and amazing. But there's a lot of work that leads into it. And our body's noticing it, and the vibrating core, your sacral chakra area space is becoming more and more pronounced for a lot of people. That feeling of like butterflies almost, that space where we feel our butterflies, right? That's the space of creation. That's where we create. That is the yellow chakra of creation. And when we feel those expansions and those beautiful things occurring, we are participating in something at that moment, and we're making choices. And as we always are, the reality that we exist within, this, what I'm looking at, the phone that I'm using, all of these things, these are decisions and agreements that I have made in some way, and that we all have done. It's the grandest secret, right? Kept after all this time, or maybe not kept, but just ignored, that we are the creators of our realities. We are making what we are seeing. We are choosing to believe what we do. And when we believe those things, we make them so. It's like more intense version of manifestation. It's the same thing. And in that space we're creating. So we're having all these experiences in that sacral chakra space as it's activating and remembering what it can do in an intentional way. We've been doing all of this without really paying attention, right? We've kind of been on autopilot with a lot of these things. And now we have been put in a position to be empowered with it. and some other stuff that's really going on is people are having, like, I don't know if any of you are having this, where electronics or even like lights and things like that are interacting with you and maybe being repelled by you. A lot of electronics are like failing in my presence lately. It's kind of a joke, um, and interacting with machines or things like lights. A lot of times they'll just decide that they want to flicker or work strangely, and it's pretty common. A lot of people are reporting this right now, and it's okay. Don't be afraid. It's just, we're energetic. We're beings of energy. We are light beings, which is the energy of love, the purest love. And there's nothing scary about that. It's simply as we become more powerful, as our bodies become more charged, then as we interact with these things, that they will respond. Don't be afraid. Psychic senses are coming on more now. People are having these experiences that are alarming to some people. But I want to reassure you that it's beautiful. This stuff is so cool. We as a species are coming online. We are coming into ourselves and finding all of these things that maybe had been turned off or just not utilized, right? All of this junk DNA, even the scientists and stuff now are starting to say, oh, look, it's actually there for a reason. And there's parts of this that, help you in some other way, some way that is not in a 3D sense. We can communicate. We are a grand organism connected as one. We are like the Amazon rainforest. I use that example a lot, but that is so amazing, isn't it? An entire forest connected and one, just as we are. Everything we interact with, we are connected to. And as our senses turn on, we're going to start to notice them differently and more. Something a lot of us have recently gone through is a rapid disconnection that occurred a few days ago for me, where all of a sudden, all connection was broken. And it was only for a short time, but I have to say, I was kind of, it was an uneasy feeling for me. As an empath, I'm sure a lot of you will relate to this. Suddenly not sensing anything is startling. And I found that in that process, what that was for me to intentionally choose those connections as I go. We are all connected to everything, but in the way that we were doing it before, maybe I was doing it before, it was done without intention. It was kind of an accident because I didn't know what was happening or what I was doing, right? And now as I reconnect with each part of my life, those connections are different. They're more pure. I would say they're more intense, but that implies something aggressive because our language barrier is really becoming an issue in this world, in this existence that we're in. It wasn't more intense, but more profound. However, it moved away from solid into a fluid, into the floating rainbow rivers in the sky, if that makes any sense. It's becoming, it's returning. And we're all participating in this. If this happens to you, please don't be alarmed. You're okay. The profound night sweats, the hot cold flashes, all of a sudden having all this memory that you don't know where it came from. It feels like you're remembering an episode of a show that you watched when you were younger. However, you're part of it. A lot of those experiences are past life memories that are coming through. And they're coming for us to acknowledge them without judgment and to release them. Remember that you're okay. You're with us. You're not alone. We came here together. We came here knowing what to do. We are love. And that's why we're here. It's hard after so long, having kind of blended in with the local population, to kind of fit in, or whatever it is that we have done over the however many lifetimes that we've been here. We are learning to pull away from those moments and to come back into our true self. And in doing so, it takes time. Be patient with yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Everything comes in the time that it's supposed to. But please remember, as it comes, it's not meant for us to analyze or to pull apart. These pieces of information are not clues as a game of if you're a detective or something. It's information of experience that needs to be healed. It just needs to be seen. Just like everyone needs to be seen for who they are, warts and all. These moments that we have hidden away in the shadows to ignore and deny, or maybe even what wasn't even you, they're coming up now. And they need to be seen and forgiven with grace. And as we do that, we forgive ourselves with grace and allow ourselves to be released. For we are also not designed to be judged. You got this. You're not alone. I hope you're having a wonderful journey. Thank you for your service. Aho blessings.